the indoctrination of kids that is now the purview of the left, right? The left believes, again, that fundamental American principles that are taught in the home or fundamental traditional principles about religion or God or traditional sexual mores or individual rights, all that stuff has to be taught out of our kids. As you heard right there, Nicole Wallace say, the dangerous thing is if parents would be allowed to parent their children in accordance with those old values. We have to allow the children to evolve. It's important for the children to evolve. And every so often, you see, some pretty solid evidence that folks on the radical left, this is their intent. They're not really hiding it. In California, as I mentioned yesterday on the show, it is written in law that kids kindergarten through 6 are now going to be taught effectively LGBTQ propaganda. Okay, and that is not being done specifically for any other reason. They say that it's about the quote unquote safety of kids. It is not about the safety of kids. There are ways to protect kids from bullying that do not involve teaching LGBTQ radical propaganda. That is not what the goal here is. The goal instead is to change the mindset and the sexual behavior or interests or confusion of small children. That's the only reason why you would teach this crap to kindergartners. You don't have to do any of that to stop bullying. If you have a neutral law about bullying in schools, if you have neutral rules about bullying in schools, that is good enough. And that applies to everybody, regardless of how those kids act in the classroom. But once you start teaching kids about gender fluidity, that can only be an attempt to indoctrinate them in a particular way of viewing the world and to confuse them about behavior. That is all that can be. Okay, so there was a video that came out yesterday, or it had come out, I guess, a few days ago, and then it was taken down yesterday from the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir. It kind of went viral on the right. Folks on the left were claiming that it was a parody. The question is, what exactly is it a parody of? So here is the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir. They released this on YouTube. They did a video titled, "We Are Coming for Your Children." They say that it was tongue-in-cheek humor. But the problem is that the statement that they released doesn't really suggest that it is fully tongue-in-cheek. Here's a little bit of the video.
You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked? Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. We're coming for your children.
We're coming for your children. We'll convert them bit by bit. Right? Very solid stuff there in this song. We'll convert your children. Yes, we will. Reaching one and all. There's really no escaping it because even grandma likes RuPaul. The world is getting kinder. Gen Z is gayer than Grindr. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. The gay agenda is coming home. The gay agenda is here. Okay, so if this is tongue-in-cheek, like we're really not coming from your children, right? It's tongue-in-cheek. It's parodical. Then why would the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir release the following statement? This is their statement, claiming that everybody's taking this too seriously. Quote, "The negative, even threatening responses prove that this music and our mission are critically necessary in today's world. Many children are not being taught the truth. Our message to you from the gay community. We will continue to do our best to counter the message of hate by teaching young people to be tolerant and fair. It is obvious the tongue-in-cheek humor is lost on many, especially the ones spewing death threats. Please take a moment and read the entire text. We'll make an ally of you yet. We are proud of who we are. We are proud of what we sing." Okay, the key sentence there is, our message to you from the gay community will continue to do our best to counter the message of hate by teaching young people to be tolerant and fair. So basically what you're saying is that the song is not actually a parody. What you're actually suggesting is that while the song is done in the mode of parody, the underlying message, which is that we wish to teach your children our values, that part is correct, right? We are making your kids more tolerant and fair by teaching them what we want to teach them in schools. Now, you as a parent may object to this. You as a parent may say, listen, I wish to teach my kids traditional sexual values and mores. I don't want my kid, forget any of that. I don't want my kids, like K through 6. I don't believe that it's appropriate for kids who are 5 years old to have to be taught about a wide variety of gender fluidity and sexual orientation questions. It's confusing. It opposes natural law in the sort of traditional moralistic sense, but also in the logical sense. The notion of gender fluidity opposes biology itself. Like, I don't think that any of this is appropriate to be taught to children, right? Regardless of political view. It's just not appropriate for kids. But the idea here is that we are going to change the next generation, right? This is why, for example, there's an entire article recently in IndieWire, I think, talking about how children's animated shows were now being stacked with radical LGBTQ propaganda content, bisexual characters in children's animated shows, gender fluid characters, transgender characters in shows made for 5 and 6 years olds, 5 and 6 year olds. Right. So the left has a very different vision of what America, the radical left, has a very different vision of what America ought to be. And the way that they are going to achieve this is by changing how your kids are taught. And if you push back on them, then this, of course, makes you the true threat to the kids. This makes you, again, you want to separate the country. This is the easiest way of separating the country. Because, as I say, I'm going to educate my kids how I want to educate my kids. And frankly, I am not interested in what the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir thinks my kids should learn. I don't really care. They are not the parents of my kids. They don't know my kid's name. And they don't want what's best for my kids. I want what's best for my kids. And I get to decide that because I'm the parent. Yeah, the same thing holds true for Randy Weingarten and the American Federation of Teachers. It holds true for the National Education Association. It holds true for Joe Biden. It holds true for all these members of government. I get to decide how I want to teach my kids. And what I would like to teach my kids, as it turns out, is a traditional sexual morality and traditional individual rights view of how the government should work with regards to both race and sex. That's what I'd like to teach my kids. And if you got a problem with that, frankly, you can stick it.